Yeah, that's a good point. People tend to focus, Bob, on the presidential election, but you're right. Everyone in the House of Representatives and quite a few senators are up for grabs, including here in Florida. So thanks for that call. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce my guest. Ahmad Hussam is the creator and founder of Peace House. So I want to welcome you back to WMNF's MidPoint, Ahmad.
Thank you so much for having me.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, you are doing it just fine.
Okay, good. Thanks so much. Well, our listeners may remember that we had you on the show about a year ago. You came out with a humorous video that had young Muslims reading the Islamophobic statements posted in the online comment section of a local news story about a fire at a mosque. And I invited you back because you've made some videos lately about politics and the elections. Why don't you set up this recent one about superdelegates? First of all, tell our listeners who aren't familiar what a superdelegate is and why you decided to make a video about it.
Right. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me again. We created this video about superdelegates because we wanted to raise awareness about just how undemocratic the Democratic Party can be. And I think that's very important now in this election as young voters are turning out to basically choose who they want, and a lot of people are resonating with Bernie Sanders, and we're starting to see how this is all about to play out and go down. And so a superdelegate is essentially, well, first of all, a delegate is an unelected official appointed by the Democratic Party that basically votes for who is going to serve as a presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, and they are allocated based on election results and primaries and caucuses. But a superdelegate or an unpledged delegate is someone that does not have to choose a candidate that voters want. And so basically, on March 15th here in Florida, if the majority of people choose Bernie Sanders, these superdelegates do not have to pledge for Bernie Sanders, and in fact, most of them, more than half of them, have already pledged support for Hillary Clinton. And so there are over 700 superdelegates, and these superdelegates essentially are there. They exist to choose the establishment candidate, and in this case, it seems as though they're going to choose Hillary Clinton.
Well, let's listen to the audio of the video that you just produced, and I should tell people, since it's audio, you won't be able to see the pictures. Some of the things that you'll be missing in the photos are you're actually going to be wearing a Bernie Sanders t-shirt, and you're pretending to vote in a
Right,
polling
it takes place in a polling station. Exactly.
And later during this short video, we'll see someone reading the words of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is the DNC chair, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. So let's roll this video, and we'll take your calls about it right after this. Peace H. No, not that one. Yeah.
To get all democratic and whatnot, change the world. Dude, what's up, man? You're voting? We don't even live in a democracy, man.
First of all, how much you selling that weed for? Is that perfect? Second of all, of course we live in a democracy.
Actually, he's gonna read.
All right, first of all, let me get your number. Second of all, can I get some privacy?
Isn't it strange that we vote in little cubicles? Like there's something to be embarrassed about? Well, there is, and it's our democratic process.
Hey, I'm voting for Bernie Sanders.
I'm going to mention
fix that.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz after this, because I'm going to invite her on the show. They said she didn't have time.
Oh,
I'm going to mention that she's going to be at USF.
Oh,
He's an unelected official.
Can I ask you if you guys are going to go there, or would that be spilling the beans
Like
too much?
the electoral college?
yeah, I kind of want to go and get a private comment, but from what I understand, it's a
That is
private
ensure the
event.
choice
You have to
between
like
only
register in
two
advance.
parties
But I'm going to
for
try
the
and go
entire
anyway.
history of the United
But Nick
States.
is not here.
But
He's
no, it's
all
not
like
like
here.
that.
He's doing a documentary.
I'd say it's worse.
He's out of town.
Behold,
So
the
you don't care.
superdelegates.
Oh, you don't have like a little
Unelected,
flip
with the
board
power
or
of
whatever.
10,000
I
votes.
mean, you're planning to use mine, but he took all
I
of
will
your.
vote for Bernie Sanders.
No,
Okay,
you will vote
well,
for Hillary Clinton.
But I mean, yeah, even if you
I will
get,
vote for Hillary Clinton.
Their job is to vote for the establishment.
even if you get
candidate,
something
in
from
this
on an
case,
iPad or whatever,
Hillary.
I think it's still
Or-
good. But
Let's
so
just
I
let
probably
the
won't
DNC explain it to you.
focus too much on that. I don't want to give them too much of a heads up that you'll.
Unpledged delegates
Okay.
really only exist so
I think it
that
wouldn't hurt to
party
mention, though,
leaders
maybe
and
someone listening
elected
that is going to the
officials
event can ask.
don't get put
Okay, I
in a
was listening earlier
position
and heard about
where
some of
they
that.
are running
Yeah.
against
All right, great.
grassroots activists.
Yeah, Hillary's already hundreds of delegates ahead of Bernie. You know, the party chose the election before it even started.
Why hasn't Bernie said anything about this?
Good question, Bernie. His supporters definitely have. There's already a bunch of petitions with a few 100,000 signatures politely asking superdelegates to vote the will of the people. And Congressman Alan Grayson has adorably put his superdelegate vote up for a vote. But why do we have to ask the Democratic Party to be democratic?
What we need is a revolution, man.
Well, Bernie is apparently calling for one.
What's he making the documentary?
But so far it stops just short of
He
criticizing
is.
the party that
Okay,
might just
try
steal
to
the
see.
election from him.
Actually, with
Wow, Bernie.
We can only speculate.
Lena and Lena's
Or
brother.
we can ask
You
Bernie
already
to
said
talk
the
about
same.
it at the next
Yeah,
debate on
okay.
March 6th in Flint, Michigan.
Huh.
Bernie, ask the Democratic
cool.
Party
What-
why they're
what-
so
where are they?
undemocratic.
They're in New
And
York,
please
right?
let's get rid of these guys.
Yeah.
Shh, come on.
We
Set this up with custom made. So maybe we could just talk about this in 4 years so I can break it in, you know?
Okay, no. For real, let's get rid of these guys right now. And whether you're a Bernie fan or not, we cannot be a democracy with voters like this yet.
It's still a democracy. I'm just 10,000 times more important than you.
Okay, you know what, everybody just go back to your boxes of shame and vote for Bernie. You know, because the DNC.
I'm voting for Trump.
Okay, well, let's not do something.
So that is a new video from Peace House, and it's, you know, it's lighthearted, but it's also, I think you're trying to send a serious message about democracy. And you know, I should say that we heard from Debbie Wasserman Schultz in that video. It was her words. It wasn't her speaking. It was an actor playing Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's actually going to be at USF this afternoon. I invited her on the show because I knew we would be playing this video, and I wanted to ask her about that. Her media person said that she wouldn't have time to call in during the show, but she is going to be at USF's Marshall Center, room 2709 at 2:30. I think you need reservations if you go there, but if you are going to be at that and you have a question about it, or you have a you know, something you want to tell about that, give us a call, 813-239-9663. So it's a shame she wasn't able to join us and I guess defend herself against what you'll be saying, but why is it that you're so concerned about these superdelegates?
Well, I think we started a campaign, it was called Ask Bernie, and it was a part of this video, and we wanted really two questions answered. We wanted Bernie, during the recent debate on Sunday night, Flint, Michigan, we wanted him to talk about superdelegates because we wanted him to expose this undemocratic element of the Democratic Party. But also, we wanted Bernie to talk about this because there's a lot of concern that Bernie Sanders isn't really running with a serious intention to become president. A lot of people say he's just running to push Hillary to the left. And so, if he's serious about becoming president, why isn't he talking about the one thing that is designed to systematically keep him from beating Hillary Clinton and winning the nomination? And you know, some of his biggest critics, like Chris Hedges and Ralph Nader, just say that, you know, he's already committed to endorsing whoever becomes a nominee. In this case, it's probably going to be Hillary Clinton. Hopefully not. But you know, if he's really serious about winning, if he's not going to let down, you know, millions of young people that are voting for the first time. In my case, I'm 25 years old. This is my third time voting, and this is the first time ever that I've seen a candidate that I really feel like this person really represents me, and I would like to vote for this candidate. And then for him to just, in the end, you know, endorse Hillary Clinton, I think he's going to let me down and millions of young voters down as well. And so if he's serious, you know, we're asking the question, why aren't you talking about this?
And it did not come up at the debate last night. You know, despite your campaign over the weekend to have it brought up, have people ask it from the audience, or have him maybe notice your online campaign and mention it at the debate, it did not come up. I guess you're disappointed about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We could have probably done a better job of organizing a social media campaign, but you know, we did what we could, and we were hoping, you know, people would see the video and resonate and kind of just tweet out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. So hopefully we'll get this conversation started at some point.
The election in Florida is a week from tomorrow. There's a debate this week in Miami. Any plans for that?
Perhaps. I think this is really our last chance. It needs to be brought up sooner rather than later. I mean, there's not much time left.
Well, let's go to the phones and see what people have to say about the debate or about superdelegates or whatever people want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Dave in Tampa, you've been holding a while. What's on your mind?
Hey, yeah, I hear your point is very valid.
Not to negate that, but I think what you're building to is something that would be too much preaching to the choir. Anyone that already gets that is going to go, Bernie gets that. The people he needs to sell to right now are the people that can't intellectualize that enough. If he starts getting into that, it's going to muddle down the things he needs to sell to the people that could be lost in the quagmire. So I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, a little too optimistic for how smart most Americans are on this thing. They need to hear the one-liners more than going into that, I think, right now.
All right, Dave, thanks for that. Your response?
I see what you're saying. I mean, a lot of people talk about what can and what cannot be said in the mainstream at this point. But I think, really, if he's going to stand any chance, if he's serious about becoming the presidential nominee, then I think he needs to address the knife that's going to be the end of it. And I think if he doesn't do it now, then it's going to be too late, really, in the future. So I think now is the time to talk about it. And he's already got Hillary on her toes, you know, talking about Wall Street and these big banks. I think he needs to keep up that pressure and talk about kind of the corruption within the Democratic Party. I think that needs to be addressed.
Dave, thank you for that comment. So thanks for that. I want to read an email right now. It's 12:46 in the afternoon. My guest is Ahmad Hussam. He's with Peace House, and I'm Seán, the host of MidPoint Monday. If Bernie Sanders is not elected, I will vote for him. He should start a new third party or fourth in case Trump decides to do the same, is what Meta PC says out there in email land. And Andy Carpe is saying, anyone who thinks Mr. Trump represents ordinary people because he doesn't take money from Wall Street is being deceived. And Andy writes a series of questions. Do you think he'll work hard to restore the inheritance tax his family will be liable to pay? And a couple of other questions that Andy thinks the answer to is an obvious no. He says that Trump will work to lower wages in the country to equal China's, not the other way around. So that's an email out there. And finally, Henry is asking, or says that our state legislature just barely dismissed fracking in the state. I get it that there's fracking going on in other parts of the country, and I get that there needs to be a national stop to the destruction of the environment. Like offshore drilling, fracking will be brought back to the state of Florida. Why must we wait for the nation to do the right thing when we can't do it, when we can do it right here? So I think this is Allison rather saying that Florida itself needs to do something about fracking before even worrying about what the federal government is doing anything. So you can email us at dj@wmnf.org. You can also call us at 813-239-9663. Let's hear from someone else on the line. Let's go to Rick in Tampa. Hi, Rick.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I have a comment for one of the previous caller, and he specified that Trump is not taking money from anyone, which is true. But think about it: if someone put his own $1 billion in line, do you think he's not gonna try to recover that money when he'll be president? He will definitely try to recover his money when he will be president, and that will be a big controversy that once he becomes president, who's going to manage all businesses? Won't there be a conflict of interest when he be a president of his own company as well as president of the United States?
Okay, two good questions. I don't know. Ahmed, do you want to talk about either of those?
Well, I think very shortly I'll just say, yeah, Donald Trump isn't taking money from major super PACs, but that doesn't mean his rhetoric isn't divisive, that it isn't dangerous, that he doesn't have a lot of crazy ideas. And I think you're already hearing from like Mexico, we're not going to pay for this wall, so he's going to start needing that. He needs to start taking money then from these super PACs because someone needs to pay for it. So,
while we're on the subject of Donald Trump, and if I'm letting too much out of the bag, let me know, and we won't have to talk about this. All right. So, what is Muslims for Trump?
So Muslims for Trump is a satire piece that we wanted to do. Donald Trump was in town a few weeks ago here in Tampa, Florida at the Sun Dome, and so we saw a good opportunity really to go disguised as Muslims for Trump.
In air quotes.
Yes. And so we made T-shirts, we made a banner saying, hashtag Muslims for Trump, and on the back we said hashtag no more Muzzies. And, we attended the event, and, we were just speaking to people, trying to, hear from them what they're about. And you were making a bit of a comical piece that will be released shortly, but I just want to say that, meeting a lot of these Trump supporters, a lot of people have the idea that the majority of them are ignorant or, stupid or racist and things like that. I met some of the kindest people there. It's, they really don't know, and they were telling us, look, we love Muslims. Muslims are good people. I think it just shows how dangerous Donald Trump can be because he brings out the worst of people. These people really didn't have a problem with us. I mean, they were very ignorant, and they were about certain ideas about Islam, and they bought into a lot of stereotypes that are not accurate at all. But I think it was a nice opportunity to kind of speak with them and learn more about where they're coming from. And so I think you'll see more in the video that's going to be released shortly, hopefully in the next coming week on Peace House.
We've seen videos from other rallies where people who are different, maybe if there were some black protesters that were let out, and then there were some that were not even protesting that were removed, and some that were shoved and called names. How did the people there treat you in general?
Well, because they saw us as Muslims for Trump and not against Trump, they kind of were more accepting. But I will say that when we entered the place, we had a banner, just like many other people, and they made us open the banner and it said Muslims for Trump, and they're like, okay, cool, you guys can go ahead. And then we went and we sat behind Trump. We were on the second level, and then security came to us and they took our banner. And we were like, why are you taking our banner? It says Muslims for Trump, And they're like, no, we just need to take your banner. And they took it away from us. And people were around us were like, why did they take your banner? Why? And we were like, I don't know, maybe it's just because we're Muslim. Even for Trump, they were concerned about it. Very strange.
Well, I have to say I'm looking forward to seeing this video, because I think, you know, usually whatever the topic is, whatever the issue that you're looking at, I think you guys are doing. I hope this isn't inappropriate for me to say, but I think you do a really good job, and they're usually really funny.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you to say.
All right. Well, 813-239-9663 is the number to call. We have Don in Venice. Hi, Don.
Hey, Seán, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for calling.
You're very welcome. I just want to run a scenario by you. And the Clinton many years ago made a pact with the devil, and Donald Trump has made a pact with Clinton. I believe that the American people are just being totally blind to the fact that Donald Trump does not want to be president. He wants Hillary Clinton to be president. Before the end of her first term, he won't be worth only $10 billion. He'll be worth $100 billion. And that's my take on the subject.
Yeah.
For listening to things.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Don. I've heard this conspiracy theory before. I mean, it's, you know, there's some things that Donald Trump has said in the past that made it sound like, you know, that he might pull this kind of a stunt in the future. But when you watch him, it seems like what he wants to do is he wants to be president. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. So I know a lot of things he said in the past would lend credence to that. I don't buy that right now. I think it seems to me that Donald Trump really wants to rev up the audience and get them to vote for him and become president.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is no doubt about the fact that he makes any candidate running against him look like the better option. So I can understand why people would buy into that. But no, I think he's at a point in his life. I think he's over 70 years old. He's had everything in the world. He has billions of dollars. You know, all he needs left for his legacy is to become a president.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that call, Don. And Don, you have a good day too, and thanks for calling from all the way down in beautiful Venice. Thanks for that call. 813-239-9663. Danny in Tampa. Hi, Danny.
Hi, John. Hi, Ahmad.
Hi, Howard.
I'm fine, thank you. Ahmad, I gotta say, you're lucky you wore the shirts that said Muslims for Trump. That's for sure. I'm pretty sure that you would have had against Trump, you would have had a problem there. Ahmad, I voted for Bernie Sanders already. I like Bernie. I'm going to be realistic with you. I don't see it. I don't see him winning. I would love to see him win, but I just don't see it. And I agree with you about everything you've been saying, everything about the superdelegates, how crooked it is, and all that they want Hillary in there. But let me tell you right now, young man, and Clay too, who I love, and all the WMNFers, who for Bernie. Look at the alternative, like you were just saying. Look at the alternative, and I don't want to go with the cliches. We're going to hold your nose and vote for Hillary. But you know what? You look at this narcissistic sociopath, this bigoted buffoon, who knows nothing except how to screw people left and right. And we're going to have this guy over Hillary. We can only hope that Hillary maintains some of her earlier leftism. You know, you're talking to me personally. I was with the Yippie Party to show you how left I was. Okay, Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin and all that. Okay, that's where I was, and I was with McGovern and all them. So I'm no conservative at all. But I'm just telling you right now, just think, and and I don't think that Donald Trump can beat Hillary. I really don't. I think she would probably have a harder time with maybe Cruz or Rubio. I mean, she might beat Cruz even easier, but Rubio might be tougher. But Rubio's not going to go anywhere. I don't think Cruz is going to get it unless they deny Trump the nomination at the convention. That's all I'm saying, Ahmed. Just think about this. Donald Trump as the president. And you can sleep on that.
Danny, thanks for that call. Let me give you a couple of the most recent head-to-head matchups from RealClearPolitics.com. And if it's Trump versus Clinton, right now Clinton leads by 3.4%. If Sanders gets the nomination and it's Trump versus Sanders, Sanders leads Trump by 8 points, 8.0 points, and Clinton trails to Cruz by 1.5 points and trails to Rubio by 5 points if somehow miraculously Rubio can pull off the nomination. On the other hand, Cruz versus Sanders. Sanders leads by a big margin, 9.7 points, and Sanders leads by 3.3 points versus Marco Rubio. So those are the latest numbers of the average of the polls coming from Real Clear Politics. 813-239-9663 or dj@wmnf.org. Why don't we go to, we have just a couple minutes left in the show, but let's go to George in St. Pete. What's on your mind, George?
Yes, hi.
Hi, go ahead. Is there something you can turn down in the background?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. My viewpoint is that it's really about a
War between the progressives and
I don't know.
the
I might not. Lots of distractions, George.
yeah, no, this is really about
the war between the establishment and the progressives. And I believe that's true on both sides, both the Democrats and the Republicans. And that's why you see such a popularity for Donald Trump and for Bernie Sanders. And I think it's a much easier step to step from Bernie Sanders over to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump to step over to Sanders than it is to step between from Sanders down to Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton represents the establishment elite, the status quo, and Bernie Sanders does not. So I think you see that in the way that the superdelegates are piling up behind Hillary Clinton. And I'm afraid that the superdelegates are going to swamp what the popular vote and people want with Bernie Sanders. And if that's the case, then you got to say, well, what are we, the voters, going to do about that? Are we going to accept that, or are we going to penalize the establishment elite on the Democratic side?
and by
Voting for Donald Trump, who is again the progressive.
So what would you do? Let's see that scenario. Let's say at the end of the nominating process, Bernie Sanders has one more pledged delegates, yet the superdelegates tip it in favor of Hillary Clinton. She's the nominee for the Democratic Party. She goes against Trump. What would you do?
I would vote for Trump. What would happen with that is that the superdelegates would erase the voice of the Democratic voter, and that's a threshold requirement. We have to have democracy, and what they're suggesting is not democracy. What they're saying is, hey, you're Democrat, I'm Democrat.
Do you want to respond to this?
You're into having combined with ours to represent you.
I think
We're
that's
your only
Jill Stein,
alternative.
right?
But that's unacceptable. What I want to do is make sure that I'm represented and
It's Jill, right?
better represented when my vote is counted.
I'm fading you down, George, because I want our guest Ahmad Hussam to respond and also say that, I wonder if it'll even come to that. If that scenario happens, I bet there will be a fight even before that. It might not end up happening.
I completely, hear you out on your concern. If Hillary wins and they completely just screw Bernie over, I would just encourage you, definitely do not vote for Trump. I would just vote maybe third party, Jill Stein, at least have your vote, fairly represented, whether it's going to win or not.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on WMNF's Midpoint, Ahmad.
Thank you so much.
Ahmad Hussam is the creator and founder of Peace House. I'm Seán. I'm the host of WMNF News Midpoint Monday. Tomorrow at noon, Mark Bureau will host Midpoint Tuesday. Thanks to everyone who called, emailed, and texted today. If you'd like to leave a voicemail with your thoughts, give me a call at 813-238-8001, extension 114. I'll play that message next show. You can also join the conversation online at WMNF.org/news. Thanks to Frank Knox and James Rossi on WMNF Tampa. Here's Flea.
Live from